with Joe Nash on Limerick's Live 95 FM.
Now, LIT graduate Dr. Caren Hession is with me in the studio. Good morning to you, Caren.
Good morning.
And you did very well to get into us, didn't you, just before the crash?
I left early this morning.
Well, you did really, really well. I know you're holding a workshop in association with DCD Limerick, which is the Limerick Dyspraxia Support Group, on Saturday, and it's aimed at parents, educators and children with special needs. And it's a lovely subject, really.
Yes,
and
yeah.
I have to say, and because maybe we're involved in music here, obviously, as a radio station, it doesn't surprise me that it's so useful in a therapeutic sense. But you must really enjoy working in the sector.
Yes, I actually did my PhD looking at equine therapy. And what I came to realise was that rhythm and beat is characteristic of horses and also of music. So in actual fact, it's the rhythm and beat of music that's more beneficial. So it's more in Western music, and it can have lots of different effects. A lot of the time you hear children, or parents more so, talking about children who can't follow teaching instruction, don't follow orders at home. And basically we use the rhythm and beat of music to synchronise this and to help children sequence information and follow tasks. So really, it's a very simple thing of getting the children to pay attention and to sequence information and just to focus on the task at hand. And it teaches them transferable skills as well that they can use in the classroom.
Right, that's really fascinating. So you made the leap from equine therapy, and I think we all know the therapeutic nature of horses as well,
Yes.
to music therapy.
Well, the aim of my research was to try and design an audio-visual approach to equine therapy to make it more accessible. And my research basically looked at using rhythm and beat. So I've had some parents in Limerick and some parents in Galway who participated in the rhythm and beat of the audio of horses, basically. And that information translated from music. In fact, the research came from music because there was very little research in equine therapy in the first place. So now for me, I've been doing music on the side as well for the past 8 years. So it's combining all my interests together and trying to deliver the benefits of rhythm and beat in a more accessible manner to parents and children.
Right. Michelle is on the line. Good morning to you, Michelle.
Good morning. How are you?
So are you a fan then of this method?
Yeah, I was a bit daunted at first when I first heard of it because it seemed to make no sense, judging on everything that we'd learned up until that point. So I took my daughter to part in one of the pilot studies initially with Caren, and within, I think it was 3 weeks in, we saw huge changes in terms of behaviour, in terms of her ability with, like, DCD involves the coordination of children's coordination. So her coordination had started to improve as well. She was no longer falling over as much. It was remarkable, the changes within very, very short a time. So
what age was your daughter when she started?
She was 7.
7, with dyspraxia.
Yeah. She was diagnosed at 6.
Can you explain then to the uninitiated, how did it work in its initial stages?
Well, Caren held group sessions with the kids, and they went in and they listened to they watched a video, I think it was, Caren. You think you probably enlighten me a bit more. And they interacted with the video, which was clapping along to the beat of the music and stuff like that. They were very short sessions, about 30 minutes, but definitely every week afterwards I was noticing the progress within her. Beforehand, my daughter would have been very prone to meltdowns and just complete frustration at just trying to do basic things. And even afterwards, I was noticing things like sensorial stuff was getting a lot easier for her. Things like even getting her hair brushed was a lot easier. And that I put all down to, the only thing we were doing at the time was Caren therapy. We weren't doing anything else at the time.
Forgive me, Caren, but I'm struggling to visualise it. You know, I know it's an audio-visual presentation.
So because I was trying to look at the benefits of, or try and get an audio-visual approach to equine therapy, I had a video of horses, but what was more important about it was I had the sound of horses. So it was their regular hoof beats, the pattern, and their heartbeat. And the idea is that clapping is actually a fundamental milestone in infancy. And you can see it in toddlers who synchronise to beats, but that actually begins in the womb. So from 17 to 19 weeks, the fetus starts to hear. And then from 28 to 30 weeks, the sound can evoke a movement. So it's basically playing on this part of the brain. So what Michelle and Alicia did during the sessions was that she clapped to the rhythms, and I got all the children to clap. And by teaching them how to clap and synchronise, you can improve the rhythm keeping ability, and also then that timing. And it's that timing that's really important for processing information and processing emotions.
No, obviously some people are lucky enough in more rural environments especially to have direct contact with horses.
Yes.
But what you're doing brings it into an urban setting.
Well, one of the other things as well, when I was doing my research in dyspraxia, a lot of the studies that were done weren't getting the same results. And a lot of the times you have a horse in a horse arena, it's on a sand ground. Do you know what I mean? So they don't actually hear the sound of the hoofs. So during the sessions that I had, we amplified that sound so the children got the direct contact, and then we encouraged them to clap to it to further instill that rhythm and beat.
Yeah. Michelle, what's your daughter's name?
It's Alicia.
And I mean, were you after a few weeks going, this is a miracle?
Well, it was more when I sat down with the teachers in the school at parent-teacher meetings, which just happened to coincide just after the course had finished that we did with Caren, and they said, what have you been doing with your daughter? This is a different child to the child we had in the school last year. And I explained about the therapy and stuff like that she was under, and they were like, we've never seen such a dramatic change in a child in the space of such a short period of time. So,
and Caren, do you see this then as an extension of music therapy? I mean, is that fair?
Absolutely, yes. Rhythm and beat is quite, it's very dominant in Western music particularly. And one of the interesting things is that music...
Like rock and roll.
Yeah. And also people can relate to it.
Don't worry, I'm not going to start singing or anything. She's looking at me really worried now.
But music has rhythm and beat, and music stimulates a lot of areas of the brain. But in particular, rhythm is dominant on the left-hand side and beat is dominant on the right-hand side. And with that processing, again, as I mentioned, it has to do with both sides of the brain syncing up. And that middle section of the brain that joins the two parts together is called the corpus callosum. And that can often be underdeveloped in children with learning difficulties and social emotional issues. So by synchronizing that using rhythm and beat-based, has to be rhythm and beat based, you can synchronize that little section of the brain that making it fire more easily so that you can synchronize and process that information across.
Do you see, Michelle, long-term benefits? Is it something that you will continue to use with your daughter?
Definitely, and she's going to be going to Caren now privately for one-on-one work, just because I feel that it needs a top-up every now and again.
Yeah.
Just to kind of keep her on balance and before she goes off kilter again. But we did a second session with Caren, and again, the improvements were dramatic. So definitely it's something that is well worth trying for any parent out there who's struggling with a child with DCD.
And does she like both music and horses?
Loves them, yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's really, really tremendous. Well, listen, thank you for joining us, Michelle. We appreciate it this morning. And we're going to talk to some other people about this too. Caren is staying with us directly after this break. Now, we're talking to Dr. Caren Hession, who's an LIT graduate, and she's holding a workshop in association with the Limerick Dyspraxia Support Group on Saturday, and it's entitled How Music Helps Us Learn. And singing is part of it too, Caren.
Yes. So as I said, I've been training in music as well for about 8 years. I'm specialising in the voice. So I've been working with industry vocal coach Joshua Alamu for the past 2 or 3 years. And basically, I'm training to be a singing teacher as well, and I'm trying to use both skills and both sets of knowledge to help the child to develop. So there's a huge social aspect involved, or a need for social skills as well for children with special needs, and we can do that as well through singing and through rhythm and beat as well.
Eleanor McSherry's a good friend of ours on the show, and she's with us now. Hi, Eleanor.
Hi, Joe.
What do you make of this method? Because I know you have some experience of music therapy.
Well, a very, very small way, because it wasn't really offered to us. My son has a great feeling for music. He used to fall asleep with his hands up against speakers. He's got Asperger's syndrome. But he also has multisensory issues. He's multisensory disorder. So he's very sensitive to sound. So I'm not really sure how this method would work with him. to be honest.
Well, I know that the perception of regular beat-based rhythms through audio or physical, because they're both connected in the brain, that can also stimulate social and emotional areas of the brain as well. So it can have quite a soothing effect. So that's probably why your son used to fall asleep touching the speakers and the vibrations.
Yeah, he does. He uses music a lot now. He's doing his Leaving Cert, and he has an iPod, and he'd listen to that when he's stressed. And in school, they used to play music in primary school when they were doing art, because he used to find that very hard, but generally it's not offered as an intervention.
I think it's probably the benefits of music are so simple that people don't realise. And it's something that it can touch a lot of people. And emotion in music is quite universal. And you can use music then to teach children who have difficulties in understanding emotion and difficulties in communicating as well. And I think that just utilising it in the right way can have great benefits for children.
Yeah.
I lecture with UCC on a certificate of autism studies, and it wouldn't be at the top of the intervention list. ABA, behavioural therapy. It wouldn't be up there with your physical therapy or your speech and language therapy. So I'm just very interested in what you're doing.
I think it's probably because it's so new as well, and people. I think music therapy is only a couple of years in Limerick. I'm not too sure, but. It's quite a new intervention that people really haven't heard about it and haven't looked into it, into the particular aspects of it. As I said, it's mainly the rhythm and beat of music and not necessarily any other aspect.
Yeah. What about equine therapy, Eleanor? Do you have a view on that?
I'd be a bit sceptical, but I suppose if it's tied in with the music, I could see the benefit of it. But we live in a suburban area, so and he's going to a mainstream school, so I'm not sure how a therapy would fit in with mainstream education.
Yeah. We had Rupert Isaacson with us in the studio not long ago, and he was talking to us about the horseboy method.
It starts with basically being curious about what life puts in front of you, because you've got no choice. Exploring by following the child and seeing where it leads you. And now these kind of extraordinary ventures that we've had, we now know the science behind why they were working. But at the time, when it was first starting, we just knew that this was working. What happened was, I've always been a horseman, but I thought that my son wasn't safe around horses, and I actually gave up riding, which is the most important thing to me. So I was in a bit of a bad way psychologically myself, didn't know what to do with autism, there we were. But my son always did better outside, and he always did better when he was moving. So I was always in the woods outside my house. I live in the country. And my neighbours all have horses. I live in Texas, and everyone has a horse there. One day, instead of going right along the path as normal, he went left and through my neighbour's fence and under the hooves of his mare, Betsy. I thought my son was going to get killed. In fact, this extraordinary meeting between this horse and my son, she bent her head to him, began to lick and chew the lip, half closed the eye, which is a submission acceptance gesture that horses do. And he wanted to go back to her day after day. I eventually started riding with him, and he became verbal in the saddle in front of me on the first day that we started riding. And that was the same week that his speech therapist had given up on him, and it went from there. A lot of people will know what I'm talking about. There's a new form of autism, which we call regressive autism, where the kid is basically developing normally until about 1.5, and then something happens and they lose their words, they roll backwards, and it's like they float away, and it makes you as a parent panic. You don't know what to do. So it was pretty severe. You can have the condition and go on to have career, love life, a perfectly rounded life, provided you have the right environment and provided you have the right social and sensory support. I want to stress for listeners, you do not need horses to do this. Horses get you your best result because of a neurological effect that they have with their hips moving under your hips, rock your hips in a way that makes you produce scads of this feel-good and communication hormone, oxytocin. But we've now figured out how to reproduce this so that we can show parents how to do it at home. So people that come to us, we have something called movement method, where we show you how to get the same movements that the horse can give you using play equipment, using your shoulders, in a pool, on a trampoline. You have to move in order to get it, but you can get a very, very similar effect. So the horses have taught us and the horses still give us the maximum effect. But I could show you right now, for example, in a couple hours, how to do these basically 6 points of kinetic learning to activate 3 different parts of the brain. And once you activate those parts of the brain, you are good to go.
The fascinating Rupert Isaacson with us in the studio. And Caren, you were nodding a lot during that piece.
Well, it's quite interesting because there's lots of different types of equine therapy. So first of all, I don't believe that the horse is a magical creature that can heal people. I think, and this is coming from a background where I did think that horses were a magical creature until I did the research. So there's a couple of things. First of all, I think that when children can communicate to a horse and then that gets translated to the adult, that can have a lot of social and emotional effects and a lot of psychological benefits. The other thing that he was talking about was those movements, and actually hearing and feeling a rhythm come from the same areas of the brain. It's the vestibular system, and that's one of the earliest systems to develop in the brain, and that's how the human fetus evolves. So we can use the physical movement, as he said, but I still held bent on the audio, actually. And what I found from my own research is that when we use the combination of the physical and the audio, we saw the best results.
Pamela Downs from Docus is on the line. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Caren and Eleanor. How are you?
Good morning.
So,
how are you?
What do you make of all of this?
I find it fascinating and very interesting. I'm actually a great believer in the power of music because I'm a member of that choir that you know and love, Unity Gospel Choir.
Absolutely.
So I love it, and it's been a great tool. I joined 3 years ago, and it's been a great thing for me, and it's given me great confidence in my singing. But I have I have 2 brothers with autism, and a younger lad does use music therapy, and he has a fantastic musical ear, and it does help him. So I think there could be benefits of it, definitely, around the social and emotional issues.
Yeah. I mean, is part of this what works? Keith Duffy, for example, was with us a few weeks back, and he was talking about autism and the work that he's done. So there are different methods, and in the end, if it works for the child, it works.
I think so. I think if it works, I think the parents should be able to try everything that they want and feel would work for their child.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I mean, if it can help with social, with the social deficits and that, then it's a great thing. But I mean, the power of movement, music, animals, there's nothing wrong with it, I think, anyway.
They're all connected anyways.
They are, yeah, definitely.
And on babies in the womb, a listener says her daughter had a little baby, and when she was in the womb, she used to move to any Bruce Springsteen song. But sadly, the child didn't survive the birth, which we're sorry to hear. Eleanor, resources. I know you, in fairness to you, have banged that drum since we're talking about rhythms for a long time and trying to ensure that the resources are available.
Yes, I mean, the thing, I just want to make a proviso here as well, that children with autism are individuals, so not every intervention will work.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We keep forgetting about that with new interventions, that they can be fantastic and very frustrating when they don't work, because not every child can react in the same way because they're individuals. And that's the thing. A diagnosis doesn't define who you are.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I would normally do is work with a child one-to-one and talk to the parents and look at what aspects. Sometimes someone would have more social issues. Sometimes it's more of a physical issue. And you would look to see what aspects the child is looking to work on and then manipulate the session to have those effects. And the other thing I would like to say is, I know we've talked about DCD and we've talked about autism, but in actual fact, it works across the board for lots of different syndromes. So mainly looking at learning ability, memory, attention, and social emotional behaviour. So that could actually be someone with autism or dyspraxia or autism, or Down syndrome or something, but it could also be just a child who's in the classroom who has difficulty learning, difficulty paying attention, or difficulty, maybe has a lot of anger issues. So it can be used for quite a broad range as well. So, but it is, as you say, adapting the lesson to suit the individual child as well.
Sarah Lee Kiley is asking, is there a connection between music and helping a bad sleeper, a child with ASD, to sleep well?
I've heard more about the soothing effect of music, and also the anxiety can a lot of times affect sleep as well. And it's just going back to that sequencing of information. And when we use regular beat-based rhythms, it can help to just soothe the child and put order in chaos, basically.
Eleanor, are we any further down the road in your view on resources?
No.
Well, that's a fairly simple answer. And a sad one.
Yes, it is. I mean, at the moment, after 14 years of fighting every step of the way, we're still looking to get my son a scribe for his leaving cert. To have come this far, gone through early intervention, get all the help that we needed, to suddenly have him fall at the last hurdle is gut-wrenching.
I know. Okay, Eleanor, listen, thank you for talking to us this morning, and thank you to Pamela as well, and a special thank you to Dr. Caren Hession, who's a graduate of LIT. Where is the workshop happening in Limerick?
Millennium Hall and Raheen, is it? And it's on at 2:00 on Saturday.
Okay.
This Saturday.
Very good. Listen, thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Limerick Today with Joe Nash on Limerick's Live 95 FM.